Have you ever wondered why, in your darkest moments, a simple whispered prayer can suddenly feel like oxygen entering a suffocating room? It's strange, isn't it? You can't see prayer, you can't measure it with your hands, yet something inside you shifts the moment you begin. Today, you're about to discover that prayer isn't just a spiritual act. It is a powerful psychological and biological process that reshapes the brain in ways most people never realize. And once you understand this, you will never think of prayer the same way again. Scientists have long studied human behavior, emotions, and the brain. But one thing that keeps surprising researchers is how deeply prayer affects the human nervous system. Whether someone is religious or simply seeking peace, the act of praying activates regions of the brain responsible for emotional regulation, decision-making, and stress control. Prayer may feel like you're sending your words upward, but the first place they land is inside your own mind, where they begin a silent transformation. The moment you start praying, your brain shifts from survival mode into a state of grounding and focus. Stress hormones reduce, your heartbeat steadies, your breathing becomes calmer. Even the sense of being overwhelmed starts loosening its grip, almost as if your mind is being gently rewired from chaos into clarity. Researchers have found that when people pray regularly, the neural pathways connected to hope, trust, and resilience begin growing stronger. Imagine your brain like a forest. Every anxious thought creates a path of fear, but every prayer creates a path of peace. And the more you walk that peaceful path, the clearer and stronger it becomes. This is why people who pray consistently often report feeling more emotionally stable, even if their circumstances haven't changed. Prayer does not always remove the storm around you, but it strengthens you from within so you can walk through it. One of the most fascinating findings is how prayer creates a sense of connection. Not just spiritual connection, but psychological connection, feeling supported, guided, and not alone. Humans are wired for connection. When you pray, your brain interprets it as companionship, lowering feelings of isolation and increasing emotional resilience. It's as if prayer switches on the internal signal that whispers, "You're not facing this alone." And that quiet reassurance can shift an entire emotional landscape. If you're finding this eye-opening and want to explore how prayer affects not only the brain but also your emotional healing and daily behavior, make sure you stay with this series and subscribe so you never miss the next part. What you're about to learn has the power to change the way you think, feel, and live. Before we continue, ask yourself this: if prayer can create such profound internal changes, what else might it be capable of? What unseen science is still waiting to be uncovered? Hold that thought, because in the next part, we're going even deeper into the hidden mechanisms that explain why prayer often works, even when everything else fails. There's a moment in prayer when the words slow down, the noise inside you softens, and something deeper begins to rise to the surface. It's not just calmness. It's a kind of emotional unlocking that many people don't know how to explain. But psychology has a name for it. It's called emotional release, and prayer is one of the most natural ways humans activate it. When you open your heart during prayer, you're accessing a safe space where your emotions can finally breathe. Instead of suppressing your pain, your mind allows it to rise in a controlled, gentle way, which is the first step toward real healing. This is why people often cry during prayer without fully understanding why. The tears aren't weakness. They're the brain's way of signaling relief. During prayer, your nervous system shifts from a fight or flight state into rest and process, giving your body permission to let go of tension that may have been stored for days, months, or even years. This emotional shift is powerful. It explains why prayer often feels like a release valve for a pressured heart. But healing through prayer goes beyond just emotional release. Your brain begins forming new associations, linking your struggles with hope, your fears with faith, and your uncertainty with trust. These new patterns gradually replace older, unhealthy mental loops. Over time, you begin responding to life with a calmer mind and a more stable emotional foundation. Prayer becomes a daily reset button that makes room for clarity, patience, and strength. Another remarkable aspect is how prayer enhances emotional resilience. When you express your deepest concerns in prayer, you are, in a way, rehearsing courage. You confront your fears instead of avoiding them. You acknowledge your pain instead of burying it. Psychologists call this active emotional engagement, and it is one of the strongest predictors of long-term mental health. Prayer helps you face life's weight without collapsing under it. It strengthens the emotional muscles that carry you through difficult seasons. A key part of this resilience comes from the shift in perspective that prayer creates. When you pray, your thoughts step outside the immediate problem and move toward a higher viewpoint. Your mind begins to ask bigger questions, see bigger pictures, and imagine better outcomes. This simple change can transform how you interpret challenges. Problems that once felt personal and overwhelming suddenly feel smaller, more manageable, and sometimes even meaningful. This shift in meaning is one of the most therapeutic experiences a human can have. There's also the deeply human need for hope, something prayer provides in a uniquely powerful way. Hope isn't just a feeling. It's a neurological state that increases motivation, strengthens the immune system, and improves mental endurance. When you pray, you spark this state inside your brain. Even if your circumstances remain the same, your ability to navigate them becomes stronger. Prayer fuels the belief that healing is possible, that change is near, that you are not stuck. And that belief alone can change everything. By now you can see that prayer is not simply a spiritual act. It's an emotional healing system built into the human experience. But there is still one final layer: how prayer shapes your behavior, your habits, and your everyday decisions in ways that influence your entire life. When you close your eyes to pray, something extraordinary happens behind the scenes, something you don't usually feel directly, yet it transforms you in ways that are hard to ignore. Your brain begins to shift into what scientists call a coherent state, where different regions start communicating more efficiently. It's like your thoughts, emotions, and inner conflicts suddenly begin speaking the same language. This internal harmony is one of the key reasons prayer creates a deep sense of emotional relief. Even a short prayer can interrupt negative mental loops that have been running all day, giving your brain a chance to reset. Most people think prayer works only because of belief, but there is a deeper science at play. Studies show that prayer reduces activity in the amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for fear and stress. When this area calms down, your mind becomes clearer, allowing you to think more rationally and respond instead of react. This is why you may notice that after praying, things that felt heavy just a few minutes earlier suddenly feel more manageable. Prayer doesn't magically erase problems, but it rewires how you face them. Another fascinating aspect is how prayer strengthens the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for decision-making, discipline, and focus. When you pray with intention, you activate circuits that help you reflect on your actions, adjust your thoughts, and imagine better outcomes. This is why people who pray often feel more grounded and centered. Prayer acts like an internal compass, quietly guiding you back to yourself whenever life pulls you off balance. What surprises many researchers is that prayer impacts the brain even if you don't come from a deeply religious background. The moment you start expressing your worries, hopes, or desires through prayer, your mind interprets it as emotional release. It's similar to sharing your heart with someone who listens without judgment. Except in prayer, that presence feels bigger, safer, and deeply personal. This creates a state of vulnerability paired with trust, which is one of the most healing emotional combinations known to psychology. There's also something powerfully therapeutic about speaking your fears and wishes out loud or even silently. Your brain processes thoughts differently when they are framed as a conversation rather than scattered worries. Prayer transforms chaos into structure. Instead of drowning in thoughts, you express them. Instead of carrying everything alone, you hand over what feels too heavy. This simple shift can dramatically reduce emotional pressure. And here's something people rarely talk about. Prayer strengthens your sense of meaning. Neuroscientists have discovered that when people engage in spiritual reflection or prayer, the brain's meaning-making network becomes more active. You start connecting your experiences, your struggles, and your hopes to a larger picture. This sense of deeper purpose is one of the strongest predictors of emotional stability and long-term resilience. When life feels purposeful, even the hardest days stop feeling hopeless. The more you understand these mechanisms, the clearer it becomes that prayer is not just a ritual. It is a neurological experience that reshapes your inner world. And we still haven't explored the most powerful part: how prayer influences emotional healing and long-term mental strength. That's where things become truly transformative. Part 4. The science of prayer. By now, you may begin to realize that prayer is far more than words or ritual. It is a profound meeting point between your mind, your heart, and the universe itself. Every prayer you offer is a conversation with your own consciousness, a way of tuning your inner frequency to the possibilities around you. This is where science and spirituality converge. Prayer changes brain chemistry, aligns thought patterns, and reshapes your perception of reality, but only if approached with awareness and intent. Faith is the amplifier. When belief meets prayer, the subconscious fully engages. Your inner narrative evolves from one of limitation to one of possibility. This is why consistent prayer spoken, meditated upon, or silently felt creates lasting change. The effects are cumulative. The more you align, the stronger the resonance. It is important to understand that prayer does not work like a vending machine. You don't insert words and expect instant rewards. Instead, prayer works through alignment, patience, and surrender. You set the intention, your subconscious accepts the signal, and the universe responds in ways that often surpass your imagination. It begins to reorganize habits, perceptions, and even emotional reactions. Thoughts that once kept you stuck start fading. Patterns that once repeated themselves begin to shift. Sometimes, what arrives is not exactly what you asked for, but always what is truly needed for your growth. This is the subtle intelligence behind answered prayers. Science confirms this. Neuroplasticity shows that repeated focus, intention, and visualization literally rewire the brain. Emotions are regulated, stress decreases, clarity and creativity increase. What you once prayed for, even subconsciously, begins to manifest in the choices you make, the people you attract, and the opportunities you recognize. The act of prayer is the act of creating your reality quietly, consistently, and visibly, yet undeniably. Now, imagine the impact if you approach every moment with conscious prayer. Not as a plea, but as a declaration of alignment. Each morning, each challenge, each fear faced with prayer is a step toward mastery over your mind and over your life. The science of prayer is not hidden in arcane texts or mystical practices. It is alive in your brain, in your heart, in the way energy flows through intention and belief. So, as you close your eyes next time, speak your truth, focus your mind, feel your heart, trust the process. Let your subconscious take the signal and transform it into reality. Your prayers are more than words. They are the tools you've been given to navigate life with purpose, courage, and clarity. If this resonates with you, pause. Reflect on one thing you've been silently asking for and feel it as energy, not expectation. Then, commit to sending it out with clarity, faith, and intention. You are not just hoping. You are creating. And the science of prayer, quietly and profoundly, is your guide.